Welcome to Flowers for Algernon, day 4. I'm reading. We're halfway through the story now, and Charlie's really starting to get smart. So let's take a look at a review of day 3. So Charlie has shown a lot of increased intelligence. They're talking about giving him college-level classes coming up. And he read that difficult book, Robinson Crusoe. He's also showing more intelligence about how he interacts with people. For example, his friends. He finally learned what they mean when they say pull Charlie Gordon. They're making fun of him. He had never realized that before, so that made him feel sad and ashamed. And we're going to see what that's like going forward for him at work when we read today. So here we go. April 22nd. I found out what a Rorschach is. It's the test I took before the operation, the one with the ink blots on the piece of cardboard. So remember before he called it a Rorschach? So he's taking it again, now he knows it's called Rorschach. I was scared to death of those ink blots. I knew the man was going to ask me to find the pictures, and I knew I couldn't. I was thinking to myself, if there only was some way of knowing what kind of pictures were hidden there. Maybe there weren't any pictures at all. Maybe it was just a trick to see if I was dumb enough to look for something that wasn't there. Just thinking about that made me sore at him. That means mad. All right, Charlie, he said. You've seen these cars before, remember? Of course I remember. The way I said it, he knew I was angry, and he looked surprised. Yes, of course. Now I want you to look at this. What might this be? What do you see on this card? People see all sorts of things in these ink blots. Tell me what it might be for you, what it makes you think of. I was shocked. That wasn't what I expected him to say. You mean there are no pictures hidden in the ink blots? He frowned and took off his glasses. What? Pictures hidden in the ink blots. Last time you told me that everyone could see them, and you wanted me to find them too. He explained to me that the last time he had used almost the exact same words he was using now. I didn't believe it, and I still have the suspicion that he misled me the first time just for the fun of it. Unless, I don't know anymore. Could I have been that feeble-minded? And that means, could he have been that, unintelligent to misrepresent what the guy was saying? We went through the cards slowly. One looked like a pair of bats tugging at something. Another one looked like two men fencing with swords. I imagined all sorts of things. I guess I got carried away. But I didn't trust him anymore, and I kept turning them around, even looking on the back to see if there was anything there I was supposed to catch. While he was making his notes, I peeked out of the corner of my eye to read what he was writing down. But it was all in code, and it looked like this. WF plus A, D lowercase d F minus add org, F, WF minus A, SF plus obj. The test doesn't make any sense to me. It seems to me that anyone could make up lies about things that they didn't really imagine. Maybe I'll understand it more when Dr. Strauss lets me read up on psychology. April 25th. Okay, April 25th. I figured out a new way to line up the machines in the factory, and Mr. Donegan says it will save him $10,000 a year in labor and increase production. He gave me a $25 bonus. I wanted to take Joe Carp and Frank Riley out to lunch to celebrate, but Joe said he had to buy some things for his wife, and Frank said he was meeting his cousin for lunch. I guess it'll take a little bit of time for them to get used to the changes in me. Everybody seems frightened of me. Like when I went over to Amos Borg and tapped him, he jumped up in the air. People don't talk to me much anymore or kid around the way they used to. It makes the job kind of lonely. So now, instead of being friendly with Charlie and joking around with him, everyone's kind of afraid of his newfound intelligence. He speaks differently. He acts differently. He's kind of onto them, picking on him. So now they're treating him in unfriendly ways. And he thinks it'll just take them a little bit of time to get used to it. The other thing to notice about this part of the reading is that he saved his boss $10,000, and in exchange, he got $25. That seems fair, right? All right, April 27th. I got up the nerve today to ask Miss Kenyon to have dinner with me tomorrow to celebrate my bonus. At first, she wasn't sure it was right, but I asked Dr. Strauss, and he said it was okay. Dr. Strauss and Dr. Niemer don't seem to be getting along so well. They're arguing all the time. This evening, I heard them shouting. Dr. Niemer was saying that it was his experiment and his research, and Dr. Strauss shouted back that he contributed just as much because he had found me through Miss Kenyon and he performed the operation. Dr. Strauss said that someday thousands of neurosurgeons, that means brain surgeons, might be using his technique all over the world. Dr. Niemer wanted to publish the results of the experiment at the end of the month. Dr. Strauss wanted to wait a while just to be sure. Dr. Strauss said Dr. Niemer was more interested in the chair of psychology at Princeton than he was in the experiment. That means that Dr. Niemer is interested in getting this job where he's in charge of the psychology department at Princeton University. Dr. Niemer got back at him by saying that Dr. Strauss was nothing but an opportunist trying to ride to glory on his coattails. Now, we know the word opportunist from our vocab work, and it means someone who takes advantage of an opportunity and maybe doesn't put in all the work themselves. So Dr. Niemer is saying that Dr. Strauss is like that, and riding to glory on his coattails means that Dr. Niemer thinks Dr. Strauss is just trying to get famous for the work that Dr. Niemer has put in, even though Dr. Strauss did the surgery. Dr. Niemer is the one teaching. So they're not getting along. When I left afterwards, I found myself trembling. I don't know why for sure, but it was as if I'd seen both men clearly for the first time. I remember hearing Bert say that Dr. Niemer had a shrew of a wife who was pushing him all the time to get things published so he could become famous. Bert said the dream of her life was to have a big shot husband. April 28th. Are you ready, guys? Love is in the air. I don't understand why I never noticed how beautiful Miss Kenyon really is. She has brown eyes and feathery brown hair that comes to the top of her neck. She's only 34. I think from the beginning I had the feeling that she was an unreachable genius and very, very old. Now, every time I see her, she grows younger and more lovely. We had dinner and a long talk. When she said I was coming along so fast I'd be leaving her behind, I laughed. It's true, Charlie. You're already a better reader than I am. You can read a whole page at a glance, while I take in only a few lines at once. And you remember every single thing you read. I'm lucky if I can recall the main thoughts and the general meaning. Well, I don't feel intelligent. There are still so many things I don't understand. She took out a cigarette and I lit it for her. Remember, it was the 1960s. Don't smoke, guys. You've got to be a little patient. You're accomplishing in days and weeks what it takes normal people to do in a lifetime. That's what makes it so amazing. You're like a giant sponge now, soaking things in. Facts, figures, general knowledge, and soon you'll begin to connect them too. You'll see how different branches of learning are related. There are many levels, Charlie, like steps on a giant ladder that take you up higher and higher to see more and more of the world around you. I can see only a little bit of that, Charlie, and I won't go much higher than I am now. But you'll keep climbing up and up, more and see more and more, and each step will open new worlds that you never knew existed. She frowned. I just hope to God. What? Never mind, Charles. I just hope I wasn't wrong to advise you to go into this in the first place. I laughed. How could that be? It worked, didn't it? Even Algernon is still smart. We sat there silently for a while, and I knew what she was thinking about as she watched me toying with the chain of my rabbit's foot and my keys. I didn't want to think about the possibility anymore that elderly people want to think about death. I knew that this was only the beginning. I knew what she meant about levels because I'd seen some of them already. The thought of her leaving me behind made me sad. I am in love with Miss Kenyon. So pause here for a second. So Charlie is in love with Miss Kenyon, but Miss Kenyon's worried that he's going to surpass her intelligence-wise. When we think about IQ, we know that's for sure. There's no way she has an IQ of 200 because that's so rare. But the question maybe to think about is, will Charlie, once he has such a high IQ, still be able to relate to her, and will love kind of conquer that difference in intelligence there? What do you think? Something to maybe predict? Progress Report 12, April 30th. I've quit my job with Donegan's Plastic Box Company. Mr. Donegan insisted it would be better for all concerned if I left. What did I do to make them hate me so? The first I knew of it was when Mr. Donegan showed me the petition. 800 names. Everyone had signed in the factory except Fanny Gurdon. Scanning the list quickly, I saw at once that hers was the only missing name. All the rest demanded that I be fired. Joe Carp and Frank Riley wouldn't talk to me about it. No one else would either, except Fanny. She's one of the few people I'd known who set her mind to something and believed it, no matter what the rest of the world proved, said, or did. And Fanny did not believe that I should have been fired. She had been against the petition on principle, and despite the pressure and threats, she'd held out. Which don't mean to say, she remarked, that I don't think there's something mighty strange about you, Charlie. Them changes, I don't know. Used to be a good, dependable, ordinary man. Not too bright, maybe, but honest. Who knows what you've done to yourself to get so smart all of a sudden? Like everybody around here is saying, Charlie, it's just not right. But how can you say that, Fanny? What's wrong with a man becoming intelligent and wanting to acquire knowledge and understanding of the world around him? That's a sentence Charlie said. Now, you can imagine how this would freak people out, saying, what's wrong with a man becoming intelligent and wanting to acquire knowledge and understanding of the world around him? So different from before. Fanny stared down at her work, and I turned to leave. Without looking at me, she said, "It was evil when Eve listened to the snake and ate from the tree of knowledge. It was evil when she saw that she was naked. If not for that, none of us would ever have to grow old and sick and die." So Fanny's referring to this Bible story from Genesis where Eve and Adam were just like happily living in the Garden of Eden, and then the serpent, who I guess was like the devil in disguise, came along and was like, "Hey, why aren't you allowed to eat from that tree?" And they're like, "God told us not to." And the tree was the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And Eve decided to eat from it, and then she could see what was right and wrong. And that apparently made life so much harder for everyone forevermore. So Fanny's saying that thirst for knowledge is bad. It was bad back in this Bible story, and it's bad when Charlie has it now. Once again, now I have the feeling of shame burning inside of me. Remember, he felt shame when he realized his friends had been picking on him. So he's got a lot of shame with this, was supposed to be a really positive change. This intelligence has driven a wedge between me and all the people I once knew and loved. Before, they laughed at me and despised me for my ignorance and dullness. Now they hate me for my knowledge and understanding. What, in God's name, do they want from me? They've driven me out of the factory, and now I'm more alone than ever before. And like I said previously, that theme of loneliness and friendship comes up over and over again in this story. So that's something to think about. Charlie did not feel so lonely before the surgery, but he felt a little left out because he didn't understand what everyone was saying. But he still felt like he had fun. Now he's becoming more aware of his loneliness, the more aware he is of the world, and the smarter he becomes. So that is the end of day 4.